Hello everyone, welcome to Malin Chess Quiz. Today I'll show the game played by Benjamin, Arvola and Andreas, and the game complete in 55 moves. The game starts with pawn to d4, knight f6, bishop g5, d5, bishop takes f6, and here you have the Trompowsky opening. Then the black capture with the g pawn, g takes f6, then g3 and c5, and white continue to play c3. Then the game continue with e6, bishop g2, knight c6, and here the black is slightly better. Then the game continue, white play e3, the center square pawn, and the black play bishop to d7, then knight to e2, f5 was played, and now the white castling and bishop to d6, and the d capture c5 and bishop capture again. And here you have the first 10 move, and the position is equal with both quite developed all the pieces such as the knight, the bishop. Then the game continue, white play knight to d2, and here the black have a great idea of moving knight to e5, and here the knight furthermore can go to the d3 square and capture the pawn at b2 and attacking the queen. So the game continue, the white play queen to b3, preparing to with the idea of capturing the b7 pawn. Then rook c8 was played, sacrificing the pawn, and here this pawn cannot be captured. If you capture the pawn using queen takes b7, then the black will be clearly winning, because after rook to b8 and attack the queen and attacking the pawn at b2, the queen has not much place to move, and if the queen move to a6, then the black can continue to play bishop to b5, attacking the queen and attacking the knight, and this will win a piece. So after rook c8, white play c4, and the knight capture c4, then knight capture c4 again, and now the d takes c4, and here if the white capture the pawn at c4, then the black can play bishop attack and capture the e3 pawn and have the discover attack with the rook attack the queen. So bishop takes, and queen need to move away, queen to b3, and now bishop to b6 again, and the position will be equal. So after d takes c4, the queen play d3. Then castling was played, and bishop takes b7, attacking the pawn by here the white is have a very strong attack and is slightly better in this position. Then rook to c7 attack the bishop, and the bishop back to the original position, bishop to g2. Then the black continue to play bishop to e7. And c2 was played. Then bishop to f6, preparing to attack the pawn. And with the rook to b7 and attack the b2. You also can bring the queen to attack the pawn. So e4 was played, and now the black play bishop to c6 to have more pieces attacking the pawn. Then knight f4 was played, and bishop captured e4, bishop capture back, and the pawn capture. And here, if the queen capture the pawn, then the bishop will capture the b2 pawn and attacking the rook. So after the pawn capture the e4, the white play rook a to e1, develop the rook towards the center and prepare to capture the pawn, and the queen will protect the pawn at b2. Then queen to d4 was played, and knight to h5, attacking the bishop and preparing to check the king. And here you have two pieces attacking the pawn. Then the queen takes b2 pawn, and queen takes e4 pawn. This will be weaker if your knight capture the bishop and bishop capture back. Then the rook takes e4 and c3 was played, and here the black will be better, and this pawn will be very strong because the black can come to b8 and go to b7, attack at queen and attack the a2 pawn, and the pawn is protected by both the queen and the rook. So after the queen capture, then rook to c5, then rook to e2, attacking the queen and protect the pawn, then queen to d4, preparing. So after this, the white do not exchange. Instead, the white go to queen g4 and check the king. And here is a very strong idea of sacrificing the queen, and one of very great move. So if you capture with the queen, then the black will capture the bishop and fork the king and queen together and winning a piece. So knight takes f6 and king move to any place, we just capture the queen, and here the white will win a piece. So after queen to g4, actually the black can play bishop to g7, and here will be more stronger for the black, because if you make the rook to e4 attacking the queen, then you just push f5, double attack, attacking the queen and the rook together. So if the rook capture the queen, and you can use the pawn to capture the queen, and if the knight capture the pawn, then king capture the pawn, capture the knight again, then rook takes and check, and then the king to h6, and here the position will be slightly equal, or at least the black has an edge. So in the actual game, after queen g4, the black play rook to g5, prevent the check and attacking the queen, and then the knight capture the bishop check, and queen takes the knight, and now the queen takes the pawn, and rook to d8, then rook to e4, and after this the black play a5, and white play queen to c7, attacking the rook, and also prepare to attack the pawn at f7, and now rook d to d5. So this is the first 30 move, and after this 30 move, the next few moves will play with the equal position for both sides for the next couple of 10 to 20 moves. For example, in the actual game, they play h4, attack the rook, and rook to g6. Then king to g2, and h5 was played. Then rook to b1, preparing for the back rank checkmate, and attack the king. And rook f5 was played. Then rook to b8, check the king, and king to h7, and queen to c2, and king to g7. Then rook to c4, and rook and the queen to e5. And here the white has a idea of double up the rook, and the rook can just come to check the king and also check the king at the side. Then rook c to c8, and king to h7, and now a4 was played. Then queen to d5 and check the king, then king to g1, and now queen to d4, with the idea of here g3 pawn as, because it is a, and rook takes g3 will be a very strong threat, and you'll be winning for the black. So king move forward to protect the pawn and avoid the check. Then queen to d5, and if the game of this situation to continue, and this will be a draw. Then king to h2, and queen to d4 again to capture the pawn, because two pieces is attacking the pawn. Then f4 was played to prevent the repetition of 3-4. Then rook to d5, and king to h3. And now the black play queen to a1, and preparing to go to h1 and check the king. Then king to g2, preventing the check. Then the black play queen to d4, and now rook f8, preparing to capture the pawn and bring the queen to c7 and attack the pawn. Then rook f5 was played, and now queen to e2, with the idea here you can play capture the pawn, or the queen can go to nothing much. The queen can go because it's just to get closer to the king and nearer the attacking. Then rook to g4 was played, then king to h3, and now queen to c3. And here if the queen capture the g3, and there will be a checkmate. Then queen to f2, preventing the checkmate. And after this, the black play queen to a1. So another suggestion is that you can play a great move by rook g takes f4. So here is one of the great idea, because the pawn cannot be captured and it's a pin from the queen. And here black will be slightly better in the endgame after capture the pawn. Then if the rook check the king, then king to g6, and if the rook b check, then the king to f6 and prevent from the check. Then rook to h6 check, and the king can move forward to the center of the square. So you bring the king nearer to the center of the square, and now the king will be protecting the rook. Then queen to e2 check, and now you can have a rook e4 attacking the queen again, and queen to b5 check. Then you can have king to d4, and if the queen to b6 check, then king to d3, and queen to b1 check, you have king to e3, and queen to g1 check, you have king to e1, e2, and queen to g2 check, king to e3, and queen to g1 check, you have rook to f2. And here the position is still equal, but the king is slightly better and have more chances to attack and capture the pawn. So in the actual game, after queen f2, queen a1 was played, and here after this, king to h2, and now the black play queen to g7, preparing to defend the king, and then the queen prepare to play queen to c2 and preparing to go to c8, and we have 3 pieces to attack the king. So queen to c2, and now rook to g6, and here this move is quite bad because it minimizes the king movement. And after this, queen to c8 and preparing to check the king. And in the actual game, after this move, the black play queen to d4, and here the white win and mate in 6. I give you a couple of seconds to figure out how the white can play and mate in 6. Well, congratulations for those who found the answer, and for those who like to enjoy the show, here are the moves from the white. The first move, the white used the rook to check the king, and now the king has no place to block. If the king capture with the queen, then you have queen capture back, and here you have the checkmate, a simple 2-step checkmate. So king to g7 was played, then queen to g8 was checked, then the king to f6, and now the brilliant move, queen capture the pawn and sacrifice and check the king. Here the king have no place and to capture back the queen, and now rook to b7 and check the king. And at this move, the black resigned, because after queen d7 block the king, then the rook capture the queen, and king to f6, and you have rook to f8 checkmate. And with this, thank you.